This lesson is on the quadratic formula and the discriminant. The goal here is to find a solution for every single quadratic equation of this form. This encompasses anything that you could possibly have. It's ax squared plus bx plus c. A, b, and c could be anything you want them to, as long as they don't include x, of course. So let's find out what the solution would be. I'll divide everything by a, because we're not used to seeing that in the as a coefficient for x squared. And now I'm going to try completing the square. So I'll move this c over a onto the other side. So now we have to find out what goes here. Well, if I take b over a and I divide it by 2, I'll get b over 2a. So that squared is really just b over 2a squared. And I have to add that to both sides. So now I can rewrite this left-hand side as x plus b over a squared. Actually, it's b over 2a because it's what we found here. So that's what it would look like on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, we have this whole mess of negative c over a plus b over 2a squared. Now if I take the square root of both sides, x plus b over 2a is going to be equal to plus or minus this really messy square root. And this is b squared over 4a squared. This is just b over 2a all squared minus c over a. I'd really like if I could put everything in that square root under a common denominator. So let's try putting it all over this 4a squared. So I'll just multiply this c over a by 4a over 4a, which is just 1, so it doesn't change anything, but it does make that common denominator happen. So now x is equal to, I'll move this b over 2a to the other side, negative b over 2a, that's a b, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 4a squared. Now if I simplify this, because this 4a squared is really just 2a squared, and it's inside a square root. So I can rewrite this as negative b over 2a plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now let's put this all together, and this is our result. This is what's called the quadratic formula. This is the solution to every single quadratic equation of this form. X is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So if you're ever given a quadratic equation and you need to find those roots, those zeros, the solutions to the quadratic equation, all you have to do is use this formula. But there's something very special here, and it's what's inside the square root. It's so special, in fact, it has its own name, the discriminant. So why is it special? Well, it tells you exactly what kind of solutions we're going to have. If this is negative, then you know you're going to have the square root of a negative number. So your solution is going to be imaginary. If it is equal to 0, then we know the square root of 0 is just 0. And our solution is going to be real and rational. But there's also one more option here. Another way you could get a solution is if it were real and irrational. And that means you have something like the square root of 5 or the square root of 2 or something like that in there. Something that's not so simple, it can only be expressed as that square root. Your solutions will be real and irrational generally if it's greater than 0, but there's a little more to that. This is the requirement. It also has to be true that b squared minus 4ac isn't a perfect square. Because if you had something like the square root of 9, then you'd get a 3, which is a rational number. So in order to get an irrational number, not only does b squared minus 4ac have to be greater than 0, but also it can't be a perfect square. A lot of material has been covered in this video, and the material is very important. So please look at the examples to earn more experience with the quadratic formula and the discriminant.